Monument variants. By now, you've probably heard me talk about these before in a previous video, but as you may have known, in one of the upcoming Doors updates, entity variants for Monument are going to be added, meaning instead of solely looking like the obelisk structures seen in the outdoors, monuments can look like other props found throughout the game. The introduction of this feature is likely going to come with some exciting features you've probably never thought about, such as the ability to use a crucifix on monuments. But what else is going to be added with this update? Well, I want to take this video to explain the entirety of the monument variants, including what exactly the monument variants will look like and how you'll be able to find them. We have got a lot to discuss today, so with all of that being said, let's begin. Alright, so as you probably know by now, Monument is a rather new entity added in the Outdoors update, and they function as a weeping angel. Essentially, some of the obelisk structures in the Outdoors have the chance to be alive, and when that happens, they will hunt you down. Think of something like the monument comes to life, sprouts 4 legs, and then starts walking towards you relatively quickly. Looking at an alive obelisk, though, causes it to hide, appearing just as a normal obelisk again. However, once you look away, it'll start moving again. So essentially, by looking at this thing, you'll be able to stun it. Now, since the monument's introduction, they've only ever been able to mimic the obelisk structures found in the outdoors. They are only able to mimic monuments, hence their name. However, as you may have been able to assume, they'll soon gain the ability to mimic a wide range of props and decorations. So, does this mean the outdoors will become even harder? Well, not quite, as these monument variants are going to be locked behind a specific feature that only appears in main floors. According to the developers, there are plans to add a modifier which adds monument to the main floors, and since the outdoor obelisks don't really appear in main floors regularly, normal props will be given the ability to appear as monuments, sometimes sprouting legs and hunting you down. These monument variants will be given completely unique animations, which differ from those exhibited by the normal outdoors obelisk monuments. And as I've said, they will only be encountered if you enable this modifier, so if you don't want to deal with them, you don't have to. So, with that information out of the way, what will these new monument variants look like? Well, there are a couple of clues hidden with the normal monument found in the outdoors, as well as the developer messages which can point us towards the answer to that question. For one, given how these monument variants will exclusively only appear in a modifier, it means that an insane amount of effort likely won't be put into making each variant too unique, simply due to how nobody really uses modifiers all too often, and those resources could be put elsewhere. Given the developer's messages, all of the variants appear to share the exact same leg models and animations. This means each variant would function identical to one another, and given how the original monument is inspired by weeping angels, where they only move when not looked at, it is implied the variants would work the same way. Additionally, given how the original monument is a large, towering creature that crushes its victims under its own weight, I believe that same concept could be applied to the monument variants. That means the props they mimic will likely be large objects, as those can comfortably be used to crush players. Think of something like the bookshelves found throughout the hotel or something like that. Furthermore, it's probable that monument variants wouldn't mimic interactable props, such as closets or generators, as that could cause a lot of confusion and mess up the code. Imagine you walk up to a locker and you can't interact with it, then you'd know it's a monument, and that kinda defeats the whole purpose of the modifier. So we can leave those things out of the question. Additionally, unlike normal monuments which have a detachable base at their bottom, I don't think the variants will have that feature, as that would require multiple new models to be created for each individual variant, a task that would probably be avoided due to the time and resource initiatives that must be put towards it, especially since the variants could only appear in a modified playthrough. So now that we know these things will visually look like large, solely decorations in the hotel and the mines, what is the total list of objects they can be? Well, fortunately, we were actually given a list that could work. As you probably know, in battle mode, players can actually pick up decorations and use them to attack other players. Many of these props already have code to be dissociated from the rest of the game to be a throwable item, so they could be made to entities as well. Sure, things exclusive to battle modes, such as the breakable doors, wouldn't be turned into monuments for obvious reasons, as they don't really appear in the base game where the modifier would be used, but the objects on this list of battle mode throwable props give a relatively good estimate of what objects could become monuments when variants do get added in this modifier update. I will say though, in the likely event that this modifier is added to both the hotel and the mines, it's likely objects exclusive to each floor could become monuments rather than objects present in both. Only a couple of decorations can be found regularly in both floors, so I see this as being a pretty likely route when it comes to this modifier. This means certain variants would likely be exclusive to each floor, which is pretty cool. Now, the last major thing I want to discuss with the monument variants is how when they are added, it's likely a new badge will also be implemented for when you crucify one. Yeah, that's right. You thought you could just avoid these monument variants by simply not playing modified playthroughs. However, if you are a completionist, which I know many of you are, you'll have to play it in order to get this badge. You see, the content update introduced the ability to crucify subfloor entities by encountering them in a modified playthrough. So since monuments are coming to main floors through a modifier, it's possible they could be crucified as well. Given how each variant will share the same animations, this likely means that when they're crucified, their animations will all look identical. However, given the animation quality of doors, I do still think it will all look spectacular like the other crucifix animations. The ability to crucify monuments would also likely introduce a new badge to the game for completing the task, as I've just said. And that means completionists would actually be required to play the modifier in order to obtain every single badge in the game. Which is good, as I do like initiatives to help gameplay features such as this be played more by players. So, to summarize, a new modifier indoors is going to add monument variants to the game, entities that function just like monuments found in the outdoors, albeit they will mimic a wide range of props found throughout the hotel and the main floors, and they will have custom animations. The props these monuments would interact with would likely be large, non-interactable ones, such as the hotel bookshelves. Additionally, it's likely a new badge could be obtained for crucifying these monument variants, and that's always cool to see, as I love the crucifix animations in-game. Anyways, with all of that being said, let me know in the comments what you think of these new monument variants, as well as if you'd play the game with this modifier enabled. I know the completionists are gonna have to at least once, but hey, you might be able to add this to your Hotel Hell or Hard Place playthroughs, which is pretty cool. And thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.